It collects programs over time in the form of beliefs, habits, emotional responses. It collects them over, generations, past lives. And so those programs kind of keep us safe, but also keep us stuck in those loops. So NLP and hypnotherapy, it's basically like kind of a software update. It helps you kind of clear out what no longer is serving you in terms of that programming. So it's another modality that's like a language that helps speak to the unconscious mind directly so that you're getting that, effective reprogramming work.
Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about that meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time yet. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up!
Hello and welcome to Bombastik Broadcasting with Kath, Kim, and Sue.
As you know, here at Bombastik Broadcasting, we believe in illuminating the folks who are stoking the fire in their souls, one podcast at a time. And today we have another fire stoker here. Her name is Megan Parker, coming to us from the beautiful state of Vermont. And so Megan is this phenomenally talented hypnotherapist. She is an NLP specialist, an astrologer who helps people clear limiting beliefs at the root so they can get in alignment with their authentic desires and soul purpose. So if this doesn't speak to you, congratulations. I know it speaks to me and so many others, right? So I am very excited to welcome Megan and get to pick her brain and search her knowledge. Welcome, Megan, to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you, Megan, and we're so excited. There are so many great questions we're ready to ask you. But would you start off by explaining to us what does the unconscious mind and conscious awareness mean? And yes, what does that mean?
Yeah, awesome. So the unconscious mind is a super, super important part of you that I wish everyone understood, right? So I think you've heard it called unconscious mind, subconscious mind. It's the same thing. So it's really important to understand the difference between your unconscious mind and your conscious awareness. And the unconscious mind is the foundation of like all growth and change. So let's talk about like the conscious awareness. It's the part of you that lives like in the present moment. So it's logical, it's deliberate, it's intentional. It's the part of you that reads a book, listens to a podcast like this, and has an aha moment and thinks, yes, that's what I need to do. Yes, I need to set that boundary, right? So that's your conscious mind. Now, your unconscious mind, on the other hand, it's the deeper operating system. So it's where like your values, your beliefs, your emotions, and your long-standing behavioral and thought patterns are stored. So a lot of this programming is not even yours to begin with. You've inherited it from family, absorbed it from society, carried it over even from past lives, right? So it dictates over 90% of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and it runs your life experience based on 21 operating principles. So I won't get into all 21, but a few of these are really important to understand because, again, your unconscious mind is driving 90%. You think you're making decisions consciously, but you're not. So the unconscious mind's main job is survival. It's meant to keep you safe. Its main goal isn't to keep you happy. So that's not where it is. It's the domain of the emotions. And although we experience emotions like consciously and things like that, they originate and are processed in the unconscious mind. So its job is to repress memories, to store them. It's also all about how they relate. So basically, it's where everything is stored. It's how we process all of our information, all of our life experiences. It maintains our instincts. It generates our habits. It does all of those things. So it also responds to symbols and metaphors. So where your logical mind can process, logical information, right? Your conscious awareness can process those types of things. Your unconscious mind, it relies on symbols and metaphors. So it thinks symbolically and more in imagery. That's why things like neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, guided hypnosis-based visualization is the most effective when it comes to working with the programming that your unconscious mind is running on. So that's why you can't kind of reframe things consciously. You can only reprogram and create true lasting change when you're working with the unconscious mind in its own language. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
100%. So you're saying the subconscious takes our memories and stores them away somewhere, and maybe like we're not even remembering those memories, but it's storing them away based on some way that it has to keep us safe.
Right, exactly. So what happens is when you have some sort of event, a traumatic event, right then is not going to be the time to process and make sense of that event and make sense of your response to it, make sense of the emotions and everything that's happening in it. So the unconscious mind, for safety, will just repress the emotions. Like, we can't deal with this. We got to just deal with immediately what's going on. We got to leave the situation. We have to do, whatever that is. We have to get away. So those repressed memories don't just go nowhere. They're stored in the body, right? So the unconscious mind is a part of our mind, but it also runs and preserves the body. So these emotions get trapped in our body. We understand and we can feel them consciously, but they're also felt in the body, and they're felt in that way. So you can't, when you're working with them, the unconscious mind doesn't process logic. It speaks kind of in terms of that imagery and that kind of like felt sense.
When you say that, it kind of brings up the fight or flight and that one imagery that you just gave, right? It sounds very much like maybe it runs on fear a lot of the time. Is that a true statement or not so much?
Well, so it technically, I mean, yes, it's more like it relies on programming. So its main goal is to keep you safe and to keep you alive. And it also likes to conserve energy. So as much as it has a ton of programs running at once, what it will do is it'll take similar events and it will kind of group them together and bank them together. So every repressed emotion and limiting belief has an anchoring root cause event that we can find somewhere on your personal timeline well before 18 months of age, most likely, anchored into generational and past life events. If you think about concepts like things that we inherit, genealogically, or karma and things like that, it would make sense that we are working on things that may not be ours or didn't originate in this lifetime. Even though we've had life experiences to back up those, those traumatic feelings, right? There's similar experiences to past life experiences. They're not what started that emotion. It's not the source of the programming. So the work that I do with my clients, it gets to the root cause event of that repressed emotion or that limiting belief. And we get the logical learnings from that event to do the unconscious reprogramming. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is that it's important to find the root, because what the unconscious mind does to conserve energy is it will take similar events that happen on the timeline, anything that mimics those feelings, it triggers that belief or that emotion. It will say, oh, it's just like this. Let's handle it the same way. And so, extrapolate that over, lifetimes and years and through generations. And now you've got like a really, really charged piece of programming that's just, this is your automatic default. This is how I respond to these things. So it's like, unconscious programming is a web. It's a very intricate, detailed web that you have to find, the root pieces of those emotions and those limiting beliefs in order to actually clear it and create new neural pathways for lasting, true change, not just kind of like saying affirmations and, trying to make that stick. Like that's, doesn't really work as well that way.
That sounds like a lot of work too.
Yes. Well, I'm interested in like when you start learning about self-awareness and how to be kinder to yourself and things like that. And then so you start consciously thinking about those things. But then if you haven't figured out what's going unconsciously, how do those two relate to each other?
Like when you're trying to consciously make better choices or like choose better behavior, or you're trying to consciously change.
Or let's just say like you're telling yourself, I am abundant. I am wealthy. I'm abundant. I deserve all the abundance in the world. But then subconsciously you have something else going on.
Right. So that illustrates a common issue that my clients face, is that they're like, well, logically, I know I'm worthy. Logically, I know I deserve all abundance. So why am I not attracting that into my life? Like, what's going on? Am I doing manifestation wrong? What's going on here? There's so many different issues that my clients will speak to around that. And so my answer to that is that, it's not what you're doing, it's why you're doing it. And it's the energy behind that why. So I talk a lot about this with my clients. I call them programmed wants versus your authentic desires. So if you think about all that unconscious programming we're talking about, those beliefs and emotions are driving your behaviors. A lot of times we're going after things for the wrong reasons, although there is no wrong. But we're going after things like, maybe, how about misguided, um we're running on programming that's causing us to go after things that, if that programming didn't exist, we might actually make a different choice, right? So understanding those programmed wants and what's driving that is part of understanding your unconscious mind. But it also illustrates that point that my clients say to me a lot of, like, well, I know better, so why can't I do better? And so that piece there comes from the fact that we live in a society now with all of this information at our fingertips in terms of personal development, all this information. And we're constantly learning things from astrology to human design to all these different modalities. And it's like, it's amazing. And we hear these things and we're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. Like, it clicks in our mind. And then we go and we try to put those behaviors, new behaviors, into practice. Like, we go try to set a boundary with our mom, and all of a sudden we go to do it and we freeze. We can't do it. We can't say it. We feel too nervous. We feel guilty. And we're like, oh. And so we walk away from the conversation going like, once again, I didn't say what I wanted to say to her. What is going on? Right. And so what's happening is that as we're consciously learning more and more things, our conscious awareness is growing, evolving, expanding, right? But the unconscious mind doesn't run on logical information. So it's sitting there going, that's well and good. That's all nice that you've learned that stuff, but I still believe this over here, and I make over 90% of your decisions. So we're going to do what I want to do. And so the unconscious mind usually is running programs that say, especially when it comes to setting a boundary with your mom, if I do this, she'll be upset with me, or maybe she won't love me, or I won't feel. And that's not what we're consciously saying to ourselves, but unconsciously, it's something like that that's going on in the background that says, if I do this, like, my mom will, I'll be abandoned, or I'll be, whatever the fear is. And so that's what's stopping us unconsciously. And it's confusing and it's frustrating because, again, we know better. We just have a hard time doing better. So when I work with my clients, I get to the root of what's going on with their, those blocks that they have specifically. And also the blocks that I know that everyone struggles with. And we go in and we get their specific root cause events and we work with them individually. So the work that I do with people is highly individualized and tailored for the programs that you specifically are running on. So that's basically what's happening when we're saying, like, I know better. Why can't I do better?
Yeah, absolutely love it. It's so cool, Megan, too. Like, have you ever heard of this book called Switch?
I don't think so. No.
It's so great. I can't think of the author right now, but you would really appreciate it with all of your knowledge on this. But it if the unconscious mind is emotional, right? And all that you're saying about, like, the books that we read, and we have all this information to bring our logical self-awareness and our courage or our confidence or whatever we think we're lacking to the forefront. But then we still, like, the emotional part is so big. Switch describes it as the elephant and the rider. So the elephant is like your unconscious mind and your emotions. And no matter where the rider wants to steer that elephant, the elephant's like, that hurt us in the past. So it makes so much sense. And you are talking about, like, actually going in and kind of rewiring so that fear and all those agreements we've made with ourselves before we even knew that the door was open. It's really cool that you figured out a way to work with clients to kind of unravel that emotional component that's so heavy and driving. And I can't think of a place where it wouldn't work. Money, right? Like, people have money blocks, fear of success, relationship blocks. Like, you hear about men or women that have a bad picker for their mate. You can solve the bad picker.
Yep. And all of that I can see too. So it's like all of those things I can see with all the different modalities that I use. And you're right to say, like, people don't talk about exactly how to do this. I think there's a lot of information, like, we need to share more about exactly, as practitioners, like, what we're doing, why we're doing it. It's why I'm highly committed to, really getting my clients results. It's about shifting, this programming for good and understanding that, because The goal is that you want to bring your unconscious mind and your conscious awareness into alignment so that the struggle is no longer there. And in order to do that, that's why I use guided hypnosis based visualization. And so that you're in a meditative state, but you're also consciously understanding what's going on in the, the root cause events that we're getting to the bottom of. And the thing is that the unconscious mind uses the emotional charge to protect you. It hangs on to those emotions. So what we do is say to the unconscious mind, it's like, okay, let's get the logical learnings of this so you can use that to protect this person instead of that emotional charge. And it's like, oh, okay, great, got it. And that's literally it. That's all you need to do. And my clients from beginning to end have like a massive shift in their emotions and their beliefs. And especially when we get into limiting belief sessions, we'll start off with one limiting belief and it's like, oh yeah, that's painful. I can feel that. Oh, when I say that, I definitely believe that. And I don't want to believe that anymore. By the time we're done with the session, they're like, yeah, I used to believe that, but I don't really anymore. I'm like, that's kind of sad. They laugh when they say it. When in the beginning of the session, they were emotional. It was evoking all this emotion. And at the end, they're like, no, I don't believe that anymore.
Oh my God, that's so
So
great.
it's like, you
so
can
great.
feel it. You can feel the shift. And then what happens is you start to change. The circumstances around you start to change. How people treat you changes without you even having to have a conversation with anyone about a dynamic or about anything. All of a sudden, everything starts to shift. People start treating you differently. It's amazing. It's amazing what happens over the course of the entire process.
That's absolutely
And
magic.
more energy, I would
Yeah.
imagine, because even feeling that, did you guys feel that too? Like when you think about the emotional weight, and I love emotions, don't get me wrong, they're great. But when you feel like the emotional weight that you're talking about, oh my gosh, like I can imagine when you help people shift that they just feel like, oh, logically, I'm safe, like this is cool. And that emotional burden that it doesn't really serve them can probably be put to the side.
Exactly. And
That's
I
right
love
on.
that you mentioned that because it's so true. You actually do have energy in more ways than you didn't even realize you were expending energy. Because one of my favorite kind of quote side effects to all of this work is your tolerance for your own emotions and other people's emotions goes way up. So from what I've seen and understood, there's so much about how we will avoid uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable energy, things that make our body feel uncomfortable. One of my favorite examples of this is what I saw with myself. I used to hate saunas for years and years and years. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be trapped in a sauna. It's like way too hot. No, now I love them. Right. And it's not the only thing that has changed through that process is that I was like, realized, oh, my tolerance for uncomfortability in any sense of the word has dramatically increased because I'm not constantly scanning my environment for, is someone like looking at me or is this like, if we, like as women, sometimes we feel self-conscious and stuff like that. Like my energy wasn't being used in all these ways. I didn't realize it was being used to like, create safety and scan my environment. So now it's like, I can just be and I can just do things and I can feel that, uncomfortability and I'm okay with that. I never worked on like being a nervous driver, but that has shifted through all of the work that I've been doing over the years. It's like there's so many things to this that I can't pinpoint, but my clients all the time, they'll be texting me, they'll be voice messaging me. They're like, and then this happened and then that happened. And I noticed that this changed. And it's like, it's crazy the amount of shift in the interactions that you have where you'll approach tasks that you were like, oh my God, I've been sitting on this for 8 months. And then we're doing work together. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I did it in 8 minutes because you weren't, carrying around all of the energy of those repressed emotions that were running in the background.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Makes sense. Megan, I was looking on your website and I saw you talking about the North Node, and I'm not sure if this is a question that you need to give a bit of background on before I just ask that question. But I was like, what in the world is that?
Yeah,
Also,
perfect.
Can I just do a little add-on to that? Because is that related to birth charts as well or not? Sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So basically, like, the methodology that I've created with my business has everything to do with guiding people on their growth journey. So I have, cultivated a lot of different modalities and skills to be able to, my goal is to kind of be a one-stop shop for everything that you need or everything you could possibly do on a personal growth journey, right? Or a growth journey. So with that, astrology came into my life, which is an amazing tool that's been in practice for thousands of years. We all know astrology really well. Most people know their sun sign, right? And so that is a practice that I got into years ago. I had been fascinated with it since I was a kid, but I wasn't allowed to kind of study it because I grew up in a, with a strict religious background. But once I, kind of made it through some major life hurdles and changed my belief system, it was like, oh my gosh, I can study astrology now. And so what I love about astrology is that the idea is that you chose your life experience before you came here. So your natal chart or your birth chart is considered the map of you. It's the snapshot of the celestial energies at play when you were born. So if you think about this, and there's all kinds of different ways that people would explain it or think about, but the way that I like to do it is that it's astrology is the study of energy. It's the study of archetypes. It's like an ancient pattern recognition system that's been reliable for thousands of years. It's a predictive tool, and it helps you understand yourself, a whole lot better, because it kind of dictates, or not dictates, but it talks about the different areas of life through the zodiac wheel, and it kind of illustrates and highlights the specific lessons that your soul chose to learn in this lifetime. And so in that chart, there's all kinds of different, the planets are in different signs and different positions in your chart. But the most important point, in my humble opinion, is the North Node. So the North Node is not a planet. It's a mathematical point between the sun and moon. And basically it represents your soul's highest calling. And it's actually one of the more difficult points to kind of move towards in our lives, because the South Node, which is the point at the opposite end, that's our comfort zone. That's where we like to be. That's what makes us feel safe. That's what makes us feel good. And so the behaviors and the patterns there are super tough to break out of. So a lot of times you'll hear astrologers say, oh, don't worry about following your North Node. It's really hard to do and all that kind of stuff. And I'm somebody who's like, no, we're following the North Node. We're going there. We're doing what we need to do to go there.
Diving in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's with that, the North Node can be like incredibly helpful to know and understand, because it gives you kind of like a North Star, especially when it resonates with you. And of course, like all the clients that have come to me, that has deeply resonated with them because they're looking for something like that, right? And so what I love about astrology in your natal chart is you chose this. I learned how to read a language, and I'm reading the knowledge of your soul back to you, right? I appreciate it for that, because I'm not telling you what to do. I'm here to support, and I'm here to be a guide. I'm not here to dictate like, this is how it is, and this is what astrology is doing to you. Even astrology is like, it represents energetic potentials. It's not something that's set in stone. Fate, I'm a firm believer in karma and fate, but I'm also a believer in free choice, right? So understanding your North Node helps you understand some of the bigger lessons that you're here to learn, so that you can consciously start to make new choices to move in that direction. And then with the knowledge of the South Node and other positions, other planets in your chart, I also use that in the reprogramming work that I'm doing. So it brings like awareness and illumination to things that are going on with you. It's like, oh, that's why that's been happening. Or, oh, that makes a lot of sense, right? I can see your relationship to your parents reflected back in your natal chart. So it's a super, super helpful like diagnostic tool, but it's also helpful for the client, because then they understand exactly where they need to go on their growth journey next.
Fantastic.
Like, who wouldn't want to know that?
We're all just
That's the whole
sitting
question.
here
That's the
like,
whole question. Why am I here?
That's
I know.
exactly.
Why am I here?
Exactly. And I'll
Learn
tell
about
you from
little man.
yeah, and from experience watching.
Megan, can I?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, can I just throw in, what is NLP?
Oh yeah. So NLP, it stands for neuro linguistic programming. So it's a modality that was developed in the 1970s by Richard Bandler and John Grinder, I think is the name of him. And so basically it's a methodology. It's all about a study of the connection between like how we think, so that's neuro, how we communicate through language, linguistic, and then the patterns of behavior we run in our lives, which is the programming. So it's kind of like how I was describing earlier, your mind is like a computer. It collects programs over time in the form of beliefs, habits, emotional responses. It collects them over, generations, past lives. And so those programs kind of keep us safe, but also keep us stuck in those loops. So NLP and hypnotherapy, it's basically like kind of a software update. It helps you kind of clear out what no longer is serving you in terms of that programming. So it's another modality that's like a language that helps speak to the unconscious mind directly so that you're getting that, effective reprogramming work.
One-stop shop. I love it.
Yeah, baby.
For anybody who thought like I don't need this, like I got it covered, I'll do it all good. I bet they're all questioning it right now. Why is this not a stop on the way of life for all of us at a certain, by the time you're 20, you must have so much like tucked away in that dark closet that doesn't even serve you or agree with you. You wouldn't even know. Like,
right.
This should definitely be, hopefully there's more of you. Are there more of you? Is this a movement? What's going on?
I'm trying, trust me. I'm trying to make it that in my work, I'm a relentless researcher. Okay. Like I am constantly learning and growing my craft. I've been, working on all aspects of, my methodologies, and I've crafted them over time. I knew that there was more things to be found and more things to understand, once I got into this work, and I started first with, becoming an NLP practitioner and a hypnotherapist. And I grew into being an astrologer and an intuitive. So I use a lot of my claircognizance, like when I'm working with clients, to kind of, help bridge the gap between a lot of things. I'm a Reiki practitioner and working on that because you can incorporate some really great energy into the process. And I won't ever stop until I continuously find more and more ways to do this. And that's why, in my big program, it's like, we're spending 12 weeks together. We're doing a comprehensive over 50 question intake form that we're using as our guide to make sure we get everything going on. And then with your astrology chart, my ability to kind of like read and interpret, and my knowledge of how dynamics work, of how the web of the unconscious programming is, I know how everything relates to one another. So I'm able to get in there and really get to the root and yank things out so that you're not kind of, a lot of times in this work too, we pluck off limiting beliefs as they surface. It's like, oh, something's coming up and I know I need to work on this. So we go see somebody to work on it. But we're not actually getting to the root. And I like to keep track of where my clients are and know exactly what's going on so that by the end of it, we're reading their intake form, and, where once it had all this charge and all of this, this uncomfortable feelings and all these emotions, by the end of it, we're reading the intake form together and they're like, yeah, I'm good. I don't have a problem with that. Like one person was like, oh, I really thought I wanted a partner, but actually I don't really want a partner anymore. Like, I'm okay if it happens, but I'm good. And she was like, oh my gosh, I want a partner. Right. So that's what I was talking about earlier too, is like, that's what I call programmed wants. Is like, we think that we're being authentic. And I do believe like we're all doing the best that we can with what we have, right? We're all doing that. But authenticity, I feel like, is a big thing where people don't really understand necessarily, or maybe it's not that they don't understand. It's like, there's another level of authenticity that can be reached here when you work with your unconscious mind. Right. And so it's being open to that. It's realizing, yes, you've done a lot of work. I know you have. But if you're still frustrated, if you still feel blocked, if you're still feeling insecure, self-conscious, if you're still like shifting your behavior to make someone else feel comfortable, if you're still saying, yes to things that you want to say no to, you've got unconscious programming at play. Because it should be very easy to be like, no, thank you, and walk away and have no issue. I know it because I live that way, and I know how I used to live, and I know that because that's what I do for my clients.
Just peeling a mask and peeling another mask and peeling another mask.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna get in deep. I'm not a small talk gal. I'm like, all right, let's get in there. What's going on?
Yeah.
Tell me what's really happening.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I know we're almost out of time. It's so funny though when you say that, like I'm thinking of the North and the South. That's a whole chapter in itself, right? But if North is your higher purpose and South is your comfort zone, I can imagine like, even when North, you're like, oh, I think I'm gonna take a vacation down South, right? And you're probably there to be like, hey, you're down South. Let's you've had enough downtime. Let's go back up North, right? Like that muscle memory, that habit. There's just so many cool things to think about with this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one of those things where we all, even if you never have a natal chart reading in your life, your soul knows the way, it knows the direction you're moving in. So you will move in the direction of that north node. To what degree and to what level of success, it's dependent upon where you're at in terms of your soul's evolution. It's dependent on, your level of conscious awareness and your desire to, break through some of these things. It depends on your life experience and if you've had things to motivate you to move in that direction of growth and change. That's certainly how I got into this work. It was through a lot of trauma on every single level that you can imagine, and trying to understand myself and who I was and what I was here to do. And so as soon as I started finding those things, it became my mission to help other people do the same thing. So it's like, you don't have to spend years in therapy or finding all these different modalities or figuring out what to do. It's like I've put my life's energy and work into creating, a whole way of working with people that has proven results.
So magic, so magic, so magic. Okay, so at Bombastik Broadcasting, we believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. So Megan, where can we find you? And what have you got? What do you offer us?
Amazing.
Where can we jump in?
So you can find me on most social media platforms. I'm kind of revamping my social media presence, but you can find me at The Sacred Torch on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And then also you can find me on my website, thesacredtorch.com. I have a blog there where I get into all these topics and I explain, everything to do with your unconscious mind. You can book a free discovery call if you'd like to chat with me and learn further. I offer my 12-week program, but I also offer standalone natal chart readings. So you can book those from my website as well. But yeah, I would say head there. I also have a quiz to help you understand where you are on the growth journey. It's called the Growth Archetype Quiz. It's a really fun quiz, so I highly suggest you take it and find out where you are, and it gives you some kind of good next steps as to where you can go on your growth journey next.
That sounds amazing.
On it. Quick question about the natal chart, because I've often wanted to have mine read. Don't you need to know when you were born, the time? Yeah. Like, where do you find that information?
Yes, so it would be on your birth certificate. So time is important. That gives us your rising sign in the houses. If it's not printed on your birth certificate, a lot of times you can call the hospital and request that. But yeah, birth time.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, that's it from Bombastik Broadcasting. Find your energy, understand yourself, and dive on into your North Node.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up. My man Mo said that the reason that the world fucked up is cause everybody lazy. Positivity is corny to them, but they still gon' complain about the bad going on. Shit crazy. So I just had to drop a little project. I don't know what the object is, but this feels good. If you too hood for the good vibe, sorry I ain't got nothing for you. Why should I?
You shouldn't. We out here doing the things that y'all wouldn't. Life could be a sweet ride. Proof is in the pudding. These guys with the weak vibes, I'll show them where to put it. Down bad, I was looking for the answer. Mind all mad, taking over like a cancer. Canceled the sub plans, came from up above. Told me everything but doing, showing love, and I gotta
wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up.
I've been getting so high, head up in the clouds. I don't ever wanna come down, but I gotta
wake up.
Ain't enough time to be down. Bust a smile, cause it's yet another day that I'm allowed to
wake up.
Feeling blessed to be alive, man. Not long till we thriving. Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about that meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time yet. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up, so much more in this world that you can do. Wake up, every Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning.